The moment Jalen Cross leaned toward the microphone, the room changed. Not because he shouted, not because he cursed, because he stayed calm. After the Titans collapsed in Game 5, one reporter finally asked the question everyone in that room was too scared to touch. Do you still believe Marcus Vale is the greatest leader you've ever played with? Jalen looked down at the towel in his hands. He rubbed his thumb across the team logo like he was trying to decide whether the truth was worth the damage. Then he looked up and said 2 words. I did. That was it. 2 words. But in basketball, sometimes 2 words can destroy an entire image. Within minutes, the clip was everywhere. Debate shows paused their scheduled topics. Former players started posting side-eye emojis. Fans were already cutting slow-motion edits of Marcus walking past Jalen on the bench without saying a word. Because this was not some angry role player chasing attention. This was Jalen Cross. The same Jalen Cross who used to call Marcus Vale his basketball hero. The same kid who wore number 7 in high school because Marcus wore it. The same rookie who once said sharing a locker room with Marcus felt like standing next to history. So when that same player sat in front of the cameras and said, I did, everybody understood something had broken, and the timing made it impossible to ignore. The Titans had just thrown away a 14-point fourth-quarter lead at home. Their crowd had already been chanting for the conference finals. The building was shaking. The season was right there. Then everything fell apart. Marcus slowed the offense down. Jalen stood wide open in the corner on 3 straight possessions and never touched the ball. On defense, Marcus missed a rotation, pointed at a teammate, then walked back up the floor with that same cold expression he had used for years whenever something went wrong. By the final buzzer, the arena was silent. But the real noise started afterward. Inside the locker room, nobody spoke at first. Sneakers scraped against the floor. Ice bags were thrown into plastic tubs. Assistant coaches whispered near the whiteboard like they were afraid the wrong player might hear them. Jalen sat at his locker still wearing his jersey, staring at the box score. 34 points, 9 assists, 3 turnovers. And somehow, in the final 6 minutes, he had taken only 1 shot. Across the room, Marcus was already dressed. No ice, no towel over his head. No long stare into the floor like a leader carrying the loss. Just his phone in his hand. That was the image that bothered people later when the story started leaking. Not the missed shots, not the bad defense, not even the loss. It was the way Marcus looked untouched by it, like the collapse belonged to everyone else. Then came the post-game interview. Marcus sat down first and said the team needed better decision-making late. He said the ball had to find the right hands. He said younger players had to understand playoff pressure. He never said Jalen's name. He did not have to. Everybody knew who he meant. And Jalen heard it. That was the moment the old version of him disappeared. The version that defended Marcus on podcasts. The version that told reporters the locker room was fine. The version that kept saying, he's teaching me how to win. Even when people close to the team were starting to question what Marcus was really teaching him. Because for months, Jalen had tried to protect the relationship. He ignored the frozen possessions. He ignored the late-game body language. He ignored the quiet comments from veterans who warned him that Marcus loved young stars only until they became a threat. But Game 5 made it impossible to ignore. This was not just about one loss. This was about power. Who controlled the offense? Who controlled the narrative? Who took the blame when things went wrong? And who always found a way to walk away clean? So when Jalen finally sat in that press conference, he did not explode. He did not call Marcus selfish. He did not accuse him of anything directly. He just said enough to make the entire league lean forward. I did, past tense. And by the time he walked out of that room, one thing was clear. Jalen Cross had not just questioned his leader. He had opened the door to a story the Titans had been hiding all season. Before Jalen Cross became the player who made the entire league question Marcus Vale, he was the kid defending him when nobody asked. That is what made the fallout so dangerous. This was not hate from a rival. This was not jealousy from a young star who wanted the spotlight. Jalen's respect for Marcus went back years. Long before the bright lights, before the playoff pressure, Before the Titans became the most watched team in basketball, Jalen had Marcus posters taped above his bed in a small apartment where the walls were thin and every game felt like an escape. His mother used to work late shifts at the hospital, so Jalen would sit in the living room with the volume low, watching Marcus destroy teams with that slow, surgical control. He studied everything: the footwork, the pauses, the way Marcus could hold the ball on his hip and make 4 defenders freeze like he already knew what everyone was about to do. To Jalen, Marcus was not just a basketball player. He was proof. Proof that you did not need to be the loudest man in the room to own it. Proof that patience could be violent. Proof that the game could be controlled with intelligence instead of noise. By the time Jalen reached high school, every coach knew who he was trying to become. He wore Marcus's signature shoes even when they hurt his feet. He copied the one-legged fadeaway until his trainer begged him to stop. He even answered interview questions like Marcus, calm and short, as if emotion was something you locked away before tip-off. And when he became a college star, reporters started asking him about his dream teammate. Jalen never hesitated. "Marcus Vale," he said. "That's the guy I want to learn from." So when the Titans drafted him, the story almost wrote itself. The aging legend and the young prodigy. The master and the future. The player with 4 rings and the player everyone said would carry the next decade. Fans ate it up immediately. The first photo of them together went viral before Jalen even played a preseason game. Marcus had his arm around him. Jalen was smiling like a kid who had just stepped inside his own dream. And for a while it looked real. Marcus praised him in interviews, called him special, called him fearless, said the Titans had found the right young guy. Those words mattered to Jalen more than he ever admitted. Because when your hero says you belong, you believe it. Inside the facility, Jalen listened to everything Marcus told him. If Marcus said slow down, he slowed down. If Marcus told him to pass up a shot for a better possession, he passed. If Marcus pulled him aside after practice and explained how playoff defenses would test his patience, Jalen treated every word like scripture. That was the first trap. Because respect can become obedience before a young player even notices. At first, nobody saw it as a problem. Veterans called it maturity. Coaches called it trust. Media members called it the perfect transition plan. But little by little, Jalen's game started changing. He stopped attacking early in the clock. He passed out of matchups he used to punish. He started looking toward Marcus before making decisions, almost like he needed permission to be himself. And the numbers told the story before anyone inside the building wanted to say it out loud. When Marcus sat, Jalen looked explosive, free, dangerous. When Marcus played, Jalen looked careful. Still great, but careful. That difference became impossible to hide. Fans noticed first. They always do. Clips started circulating online showing Jalen standing in the corner while Marcus dribbled through entire possessions. Then came the side-by-side edits. Jalen with the second unit, attacking the rim, smiling, barking at defenders. Jalen with Marcus, waiting, watching, shrinking into the system. The comments were brutal. Free Jalen. Marcus doesn't want a successor. He wants a servant. He loves him until he threatens the throne. First, Jalen laughed it off. He told reporters people were overreacting. He said winning required sacrifice. He said Marcus had earned trust that younger players still had to build. But privately, the words started landing. Because Jalen could feel the difference. Every time he got hot, the offense slowed. Every time the crowd started chanting his name, Marcus took the next possession. Every time Jalen looked ready to become the face of the team, the game somehow bent back toward the man who had already owned it for a decade. Still, Jalen refused to believe the worst. Not yet, because admitting Marcus was holding him back meant admitting something even more painful. His hero might not have been preparing him to lead. He might have been teaching him how to stay beneath him. The first real crack did not happen during a loss. It happened during a win. That was what made it harder for Jalen to explain later. The Titans had just beaten Denver by 18 on national television. Jalen had scored 29 points in 3 quarters, including a stretch in the third where he hit 3 straight threes, stripped the ball at half court, and finished through contact so hard the entire bench jumped onto the floor. For 5 minutes, the arena belonged to him. Not Marcus. Him. And everybody felt it. The crowd started chanting Jalen's name. The broadcast camera kept cutting to Marcus on the bench. The announcers said what people had been whispering all season. This might be Jalen Cross's team sooner than expected. That sentence changed the temperature. In the fourth quarter, Jalen barely touched the ball. Marcus checked back in, walked the ball up slowly, called for the same high-screen 3 possessions in a row, and turned a fast, exciting game into a quiet performance of control. The Titans still won. But Jalen walked off the floor with the strange feeling that he had done something wrong by being too good. At first, he told himself he was imagining it. Then he saw the film. The next morning, the coaching staff played back the third-quarter run. Jalen expected praise. Instead, Marcus interrupted the clip before the room could react. "We got away from structure," he said. Nobody spoke. The assistant coach holding the remote froze for half a second, then nodded like Marcus had made a teaching point instead of throwing cold water on the best stretch of the game. Jalen stared at the screen. On it, he was attacking a mismatch, forcing Denver to panic, bending the entire defense toward him. Structure? That was the word Marcus used for a possession where Jalen created an open corner 3. That was the word he used for a run that turned a tight game into a blowout. And that was when Jalen started seeing the pattern clearly. Marcus did not hate bad basketball. He hated basketball he did not control. From that day forward, everything felt different. In practice, if Jalen pushed the pace after a rebound, Marcus would clap once and call him back into the half-court. If Jalen waved off a screen and attacked one-on-one, Marcus would stand still near the logo, watching with that dead expression veterans knew too well. If Jalen made the right pass without looking at him first, Marcus would correct the spacing afterward like the real mistake was not asking permission. None of it was loud. That was the dangerous part. Marcus did not scream. He did not embarrass him in front of cameras. He did not give reporters a quote that could become a headline. He controlled things quietly. A look, a pause, a cold shoulder after a big game. A comment in film session that sounded professional enough for coaches to ignore. That was how a locker room learned who had power. Soon, Jalen noticed other players adjusting too. Role players stopped cutting when Jalen drove because they were waiting to see whether Marcus approved the possession. Veterans passed up open transition lanes if Marcus was walking behind the play. Even coaches changed their tone depending on whether Marcus leaned forward or crossed his arms. The whole team had built a second offense around one man's ego. And the worst part was that Marcus still looked perfect to the public. On camera, he praised Jalen, called him the future, said he loved his confidence, smiled beside him after wins. But behind closed doors, the message was different. You can shine, but not too bright. You can lead, but not before I allow it. You can be great, but only inside my story. That was the part Jalen could not say out loud yet. Because once he said it, there was no going back. So he swallowed it. He kept giving the right answers. He kept telling reporters Marcus was helping him grow. He kept pretending the strange silence after his best games did not bother him. But then the media started asking Marcus harder questions. Was Jalen ready to close games? Should the offense run through him more? Was this still Marcus's team? And every time those questions came up, Marcus answered with the same polished smile. Jalen is learning. Not leading, learning. That one word followed Jalen for weeks. It was in headlines. It was on debate shows. It was repeated by fans who thought they were defending patience. But Jalen heard what it really meant. Stay in your place. And once he understood that, every possession felt like a test. Not of skill, not of maturity, but of how much of himself he was willing to erase just to protect the image of the man he once worshipped. By the time the Titans reached the final month of the season, the argument was no longer just about touches. It had become a legacy fight. Fans thought Jalen wanted more shots. Debate shows framed it like a classic young star problem. The impatient kid trying to take the crown before the king was ready to hand it over. Coaches called it growing pains. But inside the building, people knew this was deeper. Jalen was not fighting Marcus for numbers. He was fighting the version of basketball Marcus had built around himself. For years, Marcus Vale had been sold as the perfect winner, the genius veteran, the leader who saw everything before it happened. Every documentary painted him above ego. But the closer Jalen got, the more that image started to feel manufactured. Because real leadership does not shrink people. It sharpens them. That was what bothered Jalen most when he started watching old championship footage late at night. He was not watching highlights for entertainment anymore. He was looking for evidence. He wanted to understand what greatness looked like when another star entered the room. And the difference was brutal. The greatest leaders in basketball history did not just collect help. They raised the temperature of everyone around them. They demanded more, but they also made space for teammates to become dangerous. They wanted pressure shared, not hidden. They wanted another killer beside them, not another name to blame when the night went wrong. Marcus talked that way in public, but he did not live that way. When role players missed shots, Marcus stared through them. When coaches drew up late-game options for Jalen, Marcus slowed the huddle down with one question until the play changed. When the team won because Jalen carried the fourth quarter, Marcus praised our system instead of the player who saved them. It was subtle enough to deny. That made it worse. Because every time Jalen felt disrespected, Marcus could hide behind basketball language. Structure, patience, experience, playoff discipline. Those words sounded responsible on television. But inside that locker room, they became chains. And slowly, Jalen realized Marcus had mastered something more powerful than scoring. He had mastered the narrative. If the Titans won, Marcus was the wise veteran guiding the future. If the Titans lost, Jalen was still learning. If Jalen dominated, it proved Marcus was mentoring him. If Jalen struggled, it proved Marcus still had to control everything. There was no version of the story where Marcus lost. That is when the veterans started pulling Jalen aside. Never where cameras could see. One older forward caught him after practice and said, "You need to understand something. Around here, truth only matters after the headline is already written." Another teammate told him, "Do not let them turn your patience into permission." Jalen laughed when he heard it, but the words stayed with him. Patience into permission. That was exactly what was happening. Every time he stayed quiet, the team treated it like agreement. Every time he sacrificed, Marcus called it maturity. Every time he refused to complain, the media praised him for accepting his place. And that place was getting smaller. The clearest example came against Phoenix. Late fourth quarter, tie game, national TV. The kind of moment where reputations either grow or crack. Jalen had scored 11 straight points. Phoenix had no answer for him. The crowd was standing before he even crossed half court. Then Marcus waved him to the corner. Not for spacing, for silence. Everyone in the arena saw it. Jalen looked at the bench. The coach looked away. Marcus dribbled for 14 seconds, forced a contested jumper, missed badly, then pointed at Jalen for not crashing from the corner. The clip went viral before the players reached the locker room. This time, fans were not divided. They were angry. Marcus would rather lose his way than win through Jalen. That comment had millions of views by morning. And for the first time, Jalen did not defend him. He did not like the post. He did not respond. He did not feed the fire. But he also did not put it out. That silence was the loudest thing he had done all season. Marcus noticed. The next day, during film, he paused the Phoenix possession and said, "Young guys have to learn how many little things decide winning." Jalen finally looked up. Not angry, not emotional, just done pretending. Because the little thing that decided everything was not a rebound. It was a throne Marcus refused to share. And soon, the whole league was about to see it. The breaking point came on a night the Titans were supposed to control. Game 5 was the kind of playoff game championship teams close without drama. The series was tied, the Titans were at home, and every storyline had been building toward one question. Could Marcus Vale still lead when the future was standing beside him? For 3 quarters, the answer looked complicated. Marcus had his moments. He hit a turnaround, found 2 cutters, and squeezed rhythm out of a game moving faster than his legs wanted it to. But Jalen was the reason the building felt alive. He attacked early. He defended full court. He turned broken possessions into points. Every time the offense started dying in Marcus's hands, Jalen pushed life back into it. By the end of the third quarter, he had 31. The Titans led by 14, and the crowd was chanting his name. That was when the game became dangerous. Not for the opponent. For Marcus. There is a specific kind of silence that hits a superstar when the arena stops asking for him. Marcus had heard critics before. He had heard rival crowds scream his name with hate. But this was different. This was his own city choosing the next voice. Early in the fourth, Jalen grabbed a rebound and sprinted. He crossed half court with two defenders backpedaling. Marcus shouted once, "Slow it down." Jalen hesitated. That half-second killed the possession. The defense loaded up. Marcus walked into the frame, took the ball, called for a screen, and turned the game back into his tempo. The shot clock bled down. Contested fadeaway. Miss. Then it happened again. And again. Jalen stood in the right corner, hands ready, watching the lead shrink like water draining through a crack. 12 became 8. 8 became 4. The crowd started making that nervous sound every home arena makes when disaster arrives. The coaches saw it. The bench saw it. Even the broadcast saw it. The camera caught Jalen clapping for the ball on 3 straight possessions while Marcus looked him off each time. You wonder if they need to get Cross involved here. Need. That word was too soft. They were drowning, and Marcus was refusing to hand the ball to the only player still breathing. With 2 minutes left, the Titans were down 1. Out of the timeout, the coach drew up a play for Jalen. Coming off a stagger screen, catch at the wing, attack downhill. Simple. Direct. Marcus nodded, then ignored it. He caught the inbound, waved off the first screen, and held the ball near half court. Jalen came off the action anyway, open for 1 clean second. Marcus never looked. He drove late, got trapped, and threw a desperate pass to the weak side. Turnover. The arena groaned like it had been punched in the ribs. On the next possession, the opponent hit a corner 3. 4-point game. Season shaking. Now the cameras were not cutting to Marcus. They were cutting to Jalen. That was the part Marcus could not control. The story had started moving without him. With 38 seconds left, Jalen finally got the ball. He attacked, absorbed contact, scored, and screamed for the foul that never came. Down 2. The Titans needed 1 stop. Instead, Marcus missed the rotation. Not because he was screened. He just stood there, pointed too late, and watched the dunk happen behind him. The crowd went silent. But Jalen did not look at the referee. He did not look at the coach. He looked straight at Marcus. And Marcus looked away. That was the moment the relationship ended. The final buzzer only made it official. In the locker room, Marcus spoke first. Not to the team, to the cameras. He said the Titans needed better late-game discipline. He said young players had to understand playoff pressure. He said the ball had to be in the right hands. Right hands. The phrase hit Jalen harder than the loss, because he had carried them all night, then been turned into the excuse before his jersey was dry. For the first time, he did not protect Marcus. He walked into the press room, sat down, and let the question come. Do you still believe Marcus Vale is the greatest leader you've ever played with? Jalen paused. Not because he lacked the answer, because once he said it, the franchise would never be the same. Then he leaned forward. I did. 2 words. Past tense. And suddenly, the Titans were not just down in a playoff series. They were trapped inside a truth they could no longer hide. The next morning, the Titans did not wake up to a basketball problem. They woke up to a civil war. Jalen's 2 words had been replayed so many times overnight that they no longer sounded like a quote. They sounded like a verdict. I did. Every show opened with it. Every fan page froze the clip on Marcus's face from Game 5. Former players started telling stories about stars who needed control more than trust. The organization tried to contain it. Internal frustration, competitive emotions, 2 winners who wanted the same thing. But nobody believed it anymore. Fans had watched the game. They had seen Jalen open while Marcus turned the offense into a monument to his own ego. They had seen the missed rotation. For the first time all season, the public story matched the private truth. That was what scared the Titans. Not that Jalen was angry, that people believed him. Marcus arrived at practice and walked straight past the media. Normally, that looked powerful. This time, it looked defensive. Inside the film room, the team sat in heavy silence. The Game 5 tape started. Nobody moved. Then the fourth quarter began. Jalen open. Marcus looking him off. Jalen open again. Marcus forcing the shot. The missed rotation. The pointing. The walk away. For once, there was no way to dress it up as structure. No way to call it patience. No way to hide behind playoff discipline. The room was watching the truth in high definition. Then Jalen spoke. He did not raise his voice. "Are we trying to win?" he asked. "Or are we trying to make sure one person gets remembered a certain way?" Nobody answered. Marcus leaned back and smiled. "You think one good season gives you the right to question everything?" Jalen looked at him. "No. I think one bad truth gives everybody the right to stop pretending." That line leaked by dinner. By midnight, it had become the whole story. Now the debate was whether Jalen had finally said what the locker room feared. The answer came 2 nights later. Game 6. Elimination. Road Arena. Every camera followed Marcus and Jalen like they were not teammates anymore. But evidence. The Titans started nervous. Marcus opened the game trying to prove a point, taking 3 shots in the first 4 possessions. He made one. Then Jalen stopped waiting. He grabbed a long rebound, pushed the floor, and attacked before Marcus could call him back. Layup, pull-up 3, steal, dunk, timeout. For the first time, he did not look toward the sideline for permission. He played like a man who had already lost the thing he was afraid to lose. By halftime, Jalen had 26. The Titans were up 8. Marcus had 7 points and a face full of decisions. Then came the possession that ended the era. Fourth quarter, 1-point game. Marcus brought the ball up slowly, ready to turn the night back into his story. But Jalen stepped toward him and held out his hand. Not asking, taking. The arena saw it. The bench saw it. Marcus saw it. For one frozen second, the franchise balanced between past and future. Then Marcus gave him the ball. Jalen walked into a screen, pulled 2 defenders, and fired a pass to the corner for the cleanest 3 of the season. Swish. He did not celebrate. He backpedaled, eyes locked on Marcus, as if to say this was all he had ever asked for. Trust. The Titans won that game, but the partnership did not survive it. A week later, they lost the series. The front office called it disappointing. Marcus called it complicated. Jalen called it what it was. A team cannot chase tomorrow while protecting yesterday. That quote became bigger than the series. It was about every aging star who says he wants the future, then panics when the future arrives early. It was about every young player told patience is maturity when it is really silence. Sometimes the hardest opponent is not across from you. Sometimes he is wearing your jersey, holding your dream hostage, and calling it leadership. Months later, when Jalen was asked if he regretted what he said, he did not blink. No. Respect dies when truth keeps getting punished. And that was the final damage. Marcus still had the rings. But after Jalen Cross, he no longer fully owned the story. Greatness can survive missed shots, can survive playoff losses, can even survive age. But it cannot survive the moment the player who once worshipped you finally tells the world he saw who you really were. If you're tired of fake basketball narratives and want the truth behind pressure, ego, betrayal, and legacy, subscribe to HOOPRADAR. This is where the stories behind the game hit harder than the highlights.